Good evening, Monadnock Region, and welcome back to the Space Lounge. Once again, another special Christmas episode of Go Mo Tonight, the Monadnock Region's only locally focused weekly comedy podcast. Thank you for joining us today. It is the 7th of December. We're recording unusually on a Wednesday this week ahead of this. And I'm your host here in this Space Lounge, Christy Loretto, joined by my lovely co-host,
Zoe Roten-Heinsman.
And as I mentioned, so we can expect this episode to come out around the 14th or 15th. And this will be our second. Well, so it's sort of funny because if you think about it, right, last week's episode, which at the time of this recording hasn't even come out yet. So I don't know what kind of reaction it's going to spawn in certain ways. But, it's titled The Holly and the Ivy, which is a Christmas sort of, until you listen to the episode, it's a Christmas song anyways, right? And we had set out to make it a Christmas themed episode, in which we would cover a couple of topics which needed to be talked about first, right? But I don't think we really did a lot of Christmas in the end.
No, we didn't have our hats. That was part of the problem.
We didn't have the hats. And the reality was, when we recorded it, we were coming up on the hometown holiday weekend, but it had not yet arrived. And I will say that while I've never been, there's never really been a moment when I've been feeling Grinchy or anything. Like for me, like the full on holiday fervor truly kicked in. Like the hometown holiday weekend really helped, put me fully in gear for that sort of thing.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Good. So we're not going to talk about any local politics, no planning boards or community centers or anything that is. We might talk about some local stories, some of which are dark, but not political. And we're going to keep it holiday focused.
That is the plan.
And actually, for the sake of being multicultural, I honestly should know this. But in terms of when this episode comes out, interesting. So Hanukkah this year begins on the evening of Sunday, December 18th. So this is in fact our pre-Hanukkah episode. If anybody wants to invite me to hang out by the menorah, I'm available. I sort of a busy schedule, but I will make time. I will make time between the 18th and the 26th if you would like to invite me to your Hanukkah event. Or do you have any Hanukkah events that you're going to?
I have no Hanukkah events, although I will be similarly free because the Christmas Carol will be finished before Hanukkah begins, and that
it'll be finished like as Hanukkah's beginning, right? Because isn't that like a 2 p.m. Sunday? It's like a 1 or 2 p.m.
Is that Sunday? Is the 18th Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yes,
because that's the performance I'm probably going to go to.
Yes, and there's another one after that.
There's 2 on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about the first one for some reason. I forget why I liked that one better. But
because
where's the second one?
An excuse to go to Keene.
Yeah, I guess. But where's the second one?
The second one might be a private show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say like I don't know if I remember that one. But yeah, hey, why not? Because by the time people listen to this, there will be several performances left. So let's. I don't think we talked about this last week.
We might not have. So my kids who are, well, by the time this episode comes out, I'll have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. Mm-hmm. And they're among the youngest cast members of Project Shakespeare's Christmas Carol. And they are just so cute and they do so much singing and it's so sweet. But beyond just like the cute kid factor, like it's all like the teenagers who have the main roles are really great. I've been to so many of these rehearsals over the past month and just like watching it transform from like people awkwardly reading out of a binder to like last weekend I was trying to do some work and I kept like watching it because it's like, oh, it's like a play now. It kept catching my attention and being like, oh, wow, there's like emotion and like drama happening right here. And it just kind of like happened. It's very cool to witness this coming together, of this performance.
Have we said the name of it?
Christmas Carol. Yeah, I said a Christmas Carol.
Okay. I don't know. I was going to say, should we tell them it's a Christmas Carol? And if, I've only had the good fortune of seeing one performance put on by this group, but I think that probably some in the audience have seen many more than that. But anybody who's familiar with the reputation of Project Shakespeare is that they really do put on just such high quality performances with children. I mean, I saw a Midsummer Night's Dream. I think it was in 2021 in the Cathedral of the Pines. And like, it was great. Like it,
yeah, it feels so cool it's just another one of these amazing arts opportunities that we have in this region. Like not only for an attendee, but like for kids to be able to work with like, I don't know, this level of expectation. And like Deborah Shakespeare Thurber is like, she's great. Like she's a pro and she's like pulling stuff out of them, that I don't know. It's just really cool to watch. It feels really lucky.
To be able to have that kind of access to a pro, that there's a pro of that level with those kind of abilities to like bring that sort of thing out of kids who's here and just doing this,
Right.
And like, I mean, like that's pretty sweet.
It is.
It's pretty cool.
So if you want to see this show, there's 2 performances on Saturday, December 17th. There's 2 p.m. at the Peterborough UU Church, 7 p.m. at the First Church in Jaffrey. My kids are not in that one, so don't recommend that one. Then Sunday at 1 p.m., December 18th at Gathering Waters Charter School in Keene. And then there is a super special performance, which is Friday, December 16th at 7 p.m. This one costs a little bit more for your ticket, but you get like a buffet of special holiday desserts, and it's like a fundraiser.
Do they give you wine?
I don't know, but I heard there might be plum pudding. I think it's like Dickensian era desserts. I don't know really what that means, but it sounds cool.
No, I gotcha. Yeah. But I mean, it's, if I'm sure it is wonderful. It's just that when I'm like, will there be wine? And someone says, no, but there will be plum pudding.
I didn't mean it that way. Didn't mean it as like a consolation.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know if it scratches the same itch,
I don't know how plum pudding is made. It might be like a fruit cake, type.
Yeah.
Fermented.
I don't either. I'm truly not sure.
Might be boozy.
Did you have, before the tree lighting, did Mandy give you one of her whiskey balls?
She did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good. That was boozy.
That's good. Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was thinking about boozy plum pudding.
Yeah. If plum pudding is like that, then it scratches the same itch, for sure. Then I would be like wasted watching your kids perform in a play. Scrooge should have listened. He should have listened to the first ghost.
We should clarify that Mandy was not giving these out as a bribe to the cookie judges.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, and if she was, it's like, can you imagine like bribing cookie judges and still only getting third place? That would kind of, you know what I mean?
You didn't want to give like bad appearances. So you're like,
you don't make it obvious, right? It's like when you copy on a test, but you get a couple wrong just in case. It's like, I'm going to bribe you. Like, I want some honor, but if you give me all the honor, people will think it's suspicious. So
just get my name read at the tree lighting. Just want to hear it.
Oh, no, but, so yeah, so go see this play though. It's going to be really cool. And it's a great way to spend. And as we've sort of been talking about, like as each holiday weekend goes by, the number of like public and like group and like big events goes down and down and down and down. So this being, the weekend of the fourth Sunday of Advent, it's the last weekend before Christmas, but there's all these, you can go see A Christmas Carol still. And I'm really happy about that being stretched out like that. So great opportunity and many options for you to choose from. So do that. But yeah, so we had a great time though. I mean, some of you probably saw a couple of our videos from the past weekend, but like, we may have talked about it on the show last week, but it came up several times with some of the movers and shakers that we talked to throughout the course of the weekend. And I think that there's actually a lot of agreement on this subject, which is that we want to take some of the things in the weekend and move them into other weekends as well. Like the lantern parade would be great, for example. Like doing the tree lighting and having cookies and Santa all at the same time, like that absolutely makes sense. But like I said, maybe doing the lantern another weekend, maybe doing like the trees at the rec center over a couple of weekends, or just not just the one weekend, like, and
I never made it to the trees. I
didn't either. I know. I didn't. So I spent Saturday, this, but the audience doesn't know. I spent Saturday pretty much like getting a Christmas tree. It was a rainy day, so it was not a storybook Christmas type of day. But I wanted to put up a bunch of lights outside, and we got our tree. We went out to, just a little shout out, Fitch's Corner out in Milford. And the reason that I want to throw them a bone is because I am forever grateful, because in 2020, right, which as everyone knows was a bummer of a year in general. It was in general a bummer of a year, but it was a real bummer of a holiday where, some of us were doing like, you got out of town, right? Or didn't?
No.
You didn't?
I did not leave town. I was banned from my parents' house.
Did we do a secret gathering?
Not on Christmas.
No, we should have.
No, I just sat on the couch and just was depressed for like 3 weeks.
Oh, well.
It's a sad time.
I'm sorry we didn't do it.
That's when the COVID times really hit me. That was my hard time with COVID.
Yeah. It was rough. It was rough. I regret not doing more secret things that year, but I was also in the course. We had half of our apartment packed, and like things were like very fraught and chaotic.
Oh no! You know what? We watched the Revels. We had a secret Revels gathering.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought we did something. Yeah, maybe not on the day, but like close to it though.
Yeah.
And we did go to High Five
for the solstice.
On the solstice. Yep.
Right, because that's when there was the
convergence. The Star of Bethlehem. We couldn't even see it or anything, but it was a nice gathering anyway. So we did do some things, but everything had to be muted, and everything, like we couldn't put out, nothing could be public. It was just very frowned upon. People were not in a very cheerful mood. And because we were packing up to move, we didn't get a tree, until later in the year than usual. And we were like, it's a pain, but then at some point it became morose, and, we were like, we need to get a tree. And just like everything else in 2020, there were problems, and nobody had any trees. And like people were like all of these places, we weren't looking for cut your own. We just wanted to buy a real tree, but like all the Lions Club trees were gone, in all the towns, like in every town, right? Like Temple, Peterborough, like all of those trees were gone. House by the side of the road had no trees. Nobody had any trees. And somebody, if I remembered who you were, I would say your name right now because I was grateful. Somebody commented on an angry post that I made about this, and they were like, try Fitch's Corner. And we drove out there, and it's this little like farm stand, basically. Like, it's like if you're coming from here, like, you take that left after like Ziza Pizza, and you just go out into the middle of nowhere. And on that particular night, like I said, it was just bad vibes generally, not a lot of Christmas around. And as we're driving, it's really dark. And there's this, like, we even tried like another place before we had gone here, and there was no trees. There's no, like, it was just so, after the year that we had, it was just depressing and everything. And there was this place all lit up, like this oasis of warmth and Christmas cheer. And we got out, and there was like plentiful, normal sized Christmas trees. And it's just these nice people who run this farm stand, like, and they saved my spirits that year, and just by being there and having the lights on and having trees. And so I am very loyal. And so we went out there. And so I just didn't have time to do any of the Saturday things that were on offer, which was a lot. There was the Greenfield Parade, and there was Handel's Messiah, and like there was like all kinds of stuff. And so I just didn't get to see all of it. But Friday night we had just a wonderful time. We ended up doing a little Go Monadnock led Christmas tree lighting, unexpectedly. I had the pleasure of, this is terrible. I had the pleasure of judging the cookies along with Tyler Ward, and I want to say Lindsay, but the very lovely woman who runs the macaron store.
Yes, her name is Lindsay.
Okay, great. Okay, good. I'm so glad I didn't get that wrong. I had never met Tyler. We all know Tyler. Still refuses to come on the program, but we're all familiar with him anyways. But I had never met Lindsay before, and she was a real pleasure. She was, 3 judges of cookies. She's a baker, right? So she's the professional among us, but we jibed together very well. And it was so fun to eat all of these cookies that had been brought down to the townhouse, and to like sort of grade them together verbally. And what was, and I guess we couldn't have planned this, and there was no way to know that this would happen. But what was really cool was that in terms of like the top 3 cookie choices, we were all in consensus pretty much right off the bat. Like we had some discrepancies between us about the order of the 3, but we very quickly were able to talk it through and get in line, which there was like 20 different, I mean, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but probably like 15 or so different cookies that we ate in the competition. There was probably 20 total, but like there were some that were obviously just like Shaw's Bakery or whatever, and we didn't consider those. They weren't intended to be entered in. We weren't like scorning an entry. They weren't intended to be entered.
Extra cookies.
They were just there. Yeah. And
but it's similar to the Channukah Memorial.
True. Yeah, true. That is true.
On the Speeds tournament.
We had a ton of consensus, or like general consensus on that as well. Absolutely. It was like that. I'm glad we didn't have to do as many rounds of the cookies as we did with the pizza.
Yes.
Because that was
tasting 15 cookies is like doable in one sitting.
Yes.
Tasting
yes. And we weren't in for those of you who wonder, and maybe there's people who, I'm sure there's people who could accomplish this, but like we were splitting cookies in 3. Like we weren't each eating an entire one of each of these cookies, which I didn't really even think about until I, got there, and I was like, you can't have a whole cookie of all of these cookies, even if you want to. That's ridiculously, like, you wouldn't feel good afterwards,
No, you would
not. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, the 3 winners were, God, I forget the second place winner's name.
Too.
It's well, it's in our video. If you want to go and look, we can link to the video. But first place was Roxanne Loudon. Many people know Roxanne, I think. She had these cookies that were like peanut butter and chocolate with black sea salt on it, and maybe that sounds good to you. It doesn't actually sound good to me. I don't like peanut butter cookies at all. And I do like salt, but it's still, when you say that to me, it still sounds questionable in like a Christmas cookie, right? But like, I don't really like peanut butter in general. And I could tell that this, was going to be a peanut butter cookie, but I'm like, whatever. I'm a judge. I can be a good sport. I can take a bite of a peanut butter cookie. Like, I'm not allergic or anything, right? Like, and I bite into this thing and you get this like light peanut butter followed by like a wave of like chocolate chips. And I didn't even realize that it was sea salt at first. And then I'm like, is there salt in this cookie? But in a good way. Like, it was just this like perfect wave of like, wow, that like little salt kick at the end, like, damn, that was good. And so like, yeah, for the uniqueness and the complexity and the like succession of flavors, that's what won that over. But second place was actually a simpler palate choice. Actually, it was I forget the name of them, but they're the kind of cookies with like a little bit of jelly in them, and they were shaped like little men. The little jelly sandwich cookies, and they were just delicious. Just straight up, great balance of cookie and jelly and flavor, just awesome. And what Mandy did is she took like Italian anisette cookies, which are my favorite, and my mother makes like hundreds of them every year. But and she explained this to me, and I love it. And a lot, the thing with the anise cookies is that they're like 50-50. Like, half of people like eat these and they're like, these are fucking great. Like, these are awesome cookies. And then half of people are just like, this just tastes like black licorice. It's awful. Get it away from me. Right. It's very polarizing cookies. So she modified the recipe, and instead of anise, it was with a hint of mint, and not too much mint either. It was with just a bit of mint, and it worked so well. It was just like exactly the right note. Where like, I thought I was just taking a bite of a regular anise cookie, and like the frosting tasted normal and the consistency is right. And then you just get this like little waft of like, oh, that's mint. Interesting. And it worked, and it was good. So 3 cheers to that. This was our first annual cookie contest in the town. And there will be more.
Yeah, that was the first thing Mandy said to me, is like, bigger plans for next year. So fun.
Yeah. And go ahead.
What's funny about Roxanne's cookie, I don't know if you saw her, she posted an Instagram story. Like, she did not mean for the salt to be black. And she was actually worried.
I didn't see that.
She was like, that was the only salt that she had. And she was
because the dog ate like a batch of the cookies? She did say she lost a lot of cookies.
Yes, I think the dog ate a bunch of dough. I don't think the dog ate the salt.
Oh yeah, they weren't finished. Yeah, right.
But she was like, oh man, I have these weird looking cookies because all I had is black salt. But then I like told her, like, no, I overheard some of the judging, and everyone thought that they were just like so beautiful and like well presented.
It was cool. They had this like it looked like a black like constellation of stars like scattered across. Like it was like the salt wasn't like evenly sprinkled like Jimmy's or something on the cookie. It was like the cookie had this like, it was like slightly swirls between like the brown and like the lighter color of the peanut butter with like this like black, like not a solid stripe, but this like speckled stripe going across it, or like a band, like, and it looked artistic. Like it was like I definitely thought it was supposed to be that way.
Not meant to be black, but sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, so, we have, like practically a friend of the pod, even though he hasn't come on. We've talked about him many times, but, Luca Paris, the head of the Greater Keene and Peterborough Chamber. We got to meet him because it turns out, and I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but nobody like said this to me before I consented to being a judge. Either way, I am amused by it. But the chamber was actually putting on all of this at the townhouse and the tree lighting itself, which, hey, for all that I've said and all of my feelings about the Peterborough Chamber being swallowed by Keene, this was a good thing to do, and it was a well done event. And we believe there wasn't a lighting last year, right? Or the year before, right? Or was it just a lantern walk that was canceled? Both. I don't think there was a lighting last year. I don't think there was an event.
I had COVID. I honestly
that's
don't
right.
remember.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. I don't think there was. I didn't go to one, and I usually wouldn't miss something like that. You know, it would be pretty unusual, and I didn't.
I bet there wasn't. Why would they cancel the parade and not the tree lighting?
Not the thing. So yeah. So I mean, the chamber brought this back after a couple of year hiatus, and they were doing a good job. And yeah, it was actually great to meet Luca. We have plans to talk more, and we did at the time actually talk about some of the ideas, some of the things that we've talked about on the show for different holidays and stuff. And I think that there's a lot of alignment there. So we look forward to talking some more. And you know, we still like to have him on the show as well. But that was a lot of fun, and that's how we ended up lighting the tree because it was a chamber thing, and like, you know, I mean, God love them, but the only town officials there were Nicole and Tyler, neither of whom had any desire to like publicly officiate the event. So, and Luca felt, and I think quite correctly, that it probably shouldn't be a Keene person who actually lead. He did plug it in, which I thought was all right. That's okay. We'll give it to him, right? But he thought that it wouldn't be the best for somebody from Keene to actually like read off the cookie winners and do the countdown and introduce the Mountain Valley singers. So he said that, you know, why don't we do it? And I said, yeah, we were down. We were ready for it at a moment's notice, and it was a lot of fun. And we had
tree lighting.
Yeah, exactly. I am always good for a tree lighting, and so you know, lovely countdown that the town did. It was a really nice gathering. Tasteful white lights this year going up the tree, and then we raced across town to go see our friends at Max T, and that's actually what started this whole train of thought in my mind, because I wanted to give them props for having wine, taking things full circle. They were having a gallery opening, and the gallery is still there all the way through the end of January, and it's called the Small Works Show, Holiday Small Works Gallery or something. Small Works from several different artists.
Holiday Small Works Show in their new gallery. So
Max
it's like
Gallery. Yes, this is the official Max T gallery. Lovely space with there's like some walls dedicated to the art, as well as some sort of like pillars that have sculptures, and then like some other like installations on it. Real cool though. It was so cool that it's a new gallery. The works being presented, and the gallery's been there for a little bit of time, but the only things displayed there have been from Max T specific like members and artisans, right? So this is the first one.
It hasn't been that long.
No, it's new. It's new. Yeah. It's new either way. And this is the first thing that was open to public submissions. So it's cool that the gallery's there. The works that are in it are cool to see, and it was just a nice event, the kind of thing that we always like to have more of around. There was music from Eve Pierce, which she's a lot of different places. If you between the Waking Finnegan stuff, and like we just saw her at the Sondheim thing, and then she was again at the gallery just singing solo, but like, yeah, she can just do that. you know, and they had wine
Was she playing
and
a
cheese.
ukulele?
Yeah, it might have been a ukulele. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's always so nice to hear her. But yes,
she was even singing a song that I hate when we walked in. It was almost hilarious. Like I almost burst out laughing. I don't even want to go on a rant about this song, so I'm not going to say what it was. But it was like I had to admit that it was sung very well. It was, you know.
Well, I almost made a comment about it while we were there. But
I'm surprised you didn't, because like I said, I was just like, are you serious? Because it's like I'm like known for hating this song. Like just since then, in the time since that day, there was like a meme about it or a video or something. I don't even remember what it was, but like a friend of mine, like Pat Noble, he tags me in a comment in it just to mess with me, just because he knows how much I hate the song. And because he knew that like seeing it would it's a very catchy song. It's a song that a lot of people love. I'm not going to say it.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm not going to say it. But in any case, she went on to sing other more lovely songs. but yeah, so they had some snacks, they had some cheese, they had wine. It was very nice, and they were giving tours of the makerspace, which is always nice. And a couple of people expressed regret that we didn't get to see it. But have you seen it before? I have seen it before. Have you not?
Haven't.
Oh, we should have like demanded it. I should have been more on that. I didn't realize you hadn't actually seen it before.
No. Oh well. I can see it another time.
Yeah. And yeah, I didn't. You sound so disappointed. Like I don't. We'll get Roy. We'll get Roy on this, and well, I'm sure we can arrange something.
I had to go home and eat pizza.
It was a very busy evening. You know, we had just done the the cookies and then the tree and the the Mountain Valley Singers.
Mountain Shadows.
Mountain Shadows, sorry. I like that. Yeah, Mountain Valley.
No, it's much more ominous than that.
Yes, it is actually. It is. So, and then jetted across town. But it is. So great event, right? On all counts, right? But another example of where a few phone calls between people that plan things like could have made it so that there wasn't 8 things specifically from 5 to 7
right
on I mean, even
the first weekend of December.
Yeah. It's like, and First Friday, just God love them, but they're so rigid about that 5 to 7 thing, you know? I hate it. I hate it. Not to, no offense. I love First Friday is great. It's not that I hate First Friday. I hate it that it's just 5 to 7. Like my Friday night doesn't start until that's over, and like 5 to 7 for me is like, that's like when I'm getting my shit together, like that's like, like, cause like work has ended, but like, I mean, I have people over a lot on Friday nights, so like, it's like, I have to get like the food has to be gotten ready and like things has to be cleaned. And like, I'm going from week mode to weekend mode. And, I want this to be like 5 to 9, or like 6 to 8. If it can only be 2 hours, like,
yeah, that does make more sense. 6 to 8 at least. Yeah. Compromise.
And you know what? While we're just telling everybody how to do their business, you know what I've always wanted to see on First Friday that never happens, or if it does, maybe I'm ignorant of it, but I don't think it happens typically anyways. And maybe this is just something that we should take up with like the new owners, like whenever that actually happens. But like, I want the toadstool open late on First Friday.
Oh yeah.
And I want there to be like, ideally there would be like a reading or like some sort of event at that time.
It's a good idea.
You know?
Good idea. Another event in that same 2 hours though, but
no, well, I'm yeah, so
no, I know.
So caveats here. If we're going to do those 2 hours, I at least want to see the toadstool open. But what I really mean when I say that is that I want it to shift later and have the open bookstore.
Yeah.
With people doing like literary things and wine.
And wine.
And wine. But anyway, so it's not a diss on first. It's not a sorry.
Friday party with wine. Just saying.
What's that?
We threw a first Friday party with wine.
We did. Yeah, we absolutely did. And it was great. No, it was awesome.
Yeah. So we like, I don't know, we put our money where our mouth is on this.
Yeah, we have done this. Yeah, we're not just shooting from the hip here, you know. We know of which we speak here. But so anyways, I'm not trying to rag on First Friday, but like First Friday, very set in their ways, 5 to 7, and then tree lighting. The tree lighting probably should be 5 to 7. That actually seems like an appropriate time for that. And they did the lighting at 6, you know, so it's not even like you have to be there right at 5, you know, like that makes sense to me. Yeah. Everyone kind of does tree lightings around 5 or 6. That's like a normal time. That's like that time that you kind of do that. Right. So that's cool. But like, then maybe like the gallery opening could have been 6 to 8. Right. So that like you could more easily do both. And then you could piggyback off of it and tell people you're going to be out. You're going to be at the tree lighting already. Pop over here for some cheese and wine before you do anything else, you know, and go see some art and like really make a Friday night of it. So even if that was going to be in the same weekend and on the same night, like you could stagger it, you know, so that we're doing all these different things.
Especially if you have like kids along, which a lot of the people for the like Santa cookie thing, tree lighting thing did. Like 2 hours is not that much time to like actually get children moved from like place to place.
Totally.
It's like there's just like no way that you can like move them from, you know, here to there to like then back to see the trees at the community center. Like you know, you have to pick 2 maximum things in a 2 hour period, I feel. You
do. And the other comment that I have on that score that it is relevant to the moving children from place to place thing too, is that like, and this is actually probably the worst offense of them all, right? Is there shouldn't have been anything going on at the community center while there was this going on at the townhouse and at Putnam Park. Like that is the least sensible of any of these conflicts of time, because at least First Friday is basically the same place. It's the same general area, right? And Max T is something different, right? So it's not specifically Christmas. It is, it's an art opening, you know, so it might even appeal to like a different crowd of people, but like probably the same sort of person who wants to carol by a fire around a collection of Christmas trees at the community center is a similar demographic to the people who want to eat Christmas cookies and shop at the townhouse for vendors and see the Christmas tree lit up. And they're both sort of town events. Yeah. Happening in competition with one another at the same time.
I feel like we're retreading some of what we talked about last week, though.
Now we've just lived through it, though. That's all. We've just come out the other side, and it was great. So that's the thing, is that like the weekend was great. We'll spread it out next time. But we had a bunch of fun.
Didn't even talk about the lantern parade yet, though.
I know we haven't even gotten there yet. The lantern parade was awesome.
It was awesome. Maybe there's not that much to say. You just have to.
There's not as much to comment on it because I have no criticisms of it. Yeah. Do it on a different weekend, but we've had that conversation, and I've even started putting that out there to people involved with it. So that conversation has already begun. And, you know, we've made, you know, if you watched our video footage of it, there's a lot of jokes about some of the giant lanterns that were made, which were all beautiful and wonderful. But there was one that was an owl that was a favorite of many people, but some people felt that it was a lobster, and some people, it was actually there were other factions that called it a moose. And we want to see those animals intentionally as lanterns. There's some demand among the populace for that sort of thing.
So next year you can go to the giant lantern making library workshop and make the lobster lantern of your dreams.
I was disappointed. There was one lantern workshop. I think it was the last one, and Corinne had told me about it a couple days beforehand, and I was almost going to go, but like there was conflicts that night. It didn't. You know what? I might have been because it was like Tuesday at like 5, and it was, I think, Manny's first rec basketball. Props to rec basketball, though. Hey, let me just, I don't only criticize things that rec does. The basketball program seems lovely. My kid's having a great time.
Nice to hear it.
Interestingly enough,
you made your share of lanterns this year, so you're off the hook for this year.
Yeah.
You were like,
I did. Yes, that's true. I did. I made a lot of crafts. I made some nice lanterns, which my kids shattered in the bank parking lot because they were glass. There's probably going to be like disclaimers on the lantern walk for next year saying, please do not bring glass lanterns, and it's going to be my fault if that notice is in there. Sorry. I don't want to bring glass lanterns next time because that felt embarrassing. You're just standing in that giant crowd and just like, oh. And there's no real easy solution either. Like, nobody's got a dustpan and broom, and like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do? Like, call the fire department? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no recourse when that happens. Really, the answer is you should not bring a glass lantern to a lantern walk. Sorry, again, that is there's nobody to blame but myself here.
We'll learn a different type of lantern craft next year.
Yeah, because that was the thing was the reason that Corinne had brought it up was because I think I was I had made reference to the lanterns that Cheyenne and her kids showed up with, because we did a little lantern walk at my house like a couple weeks beforehand, and that's why I made these. Zoe started them; she showed me how, but then they had to go to dance, and they weren't coming back until it was time to do the lantern walk, right? And no one else was around, so I had to do the lanterns. But then, Renzo just like walks in the house with this like perfectly formed star. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, guys, like just show up and show everyone up here, like with your like brilliant stars, like very good. And then they were actually like, we did this at the library, like it wasn't like their own innate skill. That's just the kind of thing that you will produce if you go to these library lantern making workshops. So I didn't know that before then. I've only ever made or seen made like, fairly simple ones, so I was very intrigued, and Corinne offered me the opportunity, but I couldn't make it happen. So next year, they have these. It's again, this is another thing that's totally my fault, because this is another thing that other people did really well, is that they started doing these lantern workshops like many weeks in advance, and they did a lot of them. And
all different styles. Yeah.
So I am throwing no shade here. All of the people involved with this did a very good job, and I'm not telling them to do anything different. I just needed to get on the ball with that for next year. So so Lantern Walk, the only comment is that I should improve.
Or they could bring either no glass lanterns allowed or BYO broom and dustpan.
Yeah, right. Yes. if you're going to bring a glass, you need to bring like a thick trash bag that can properly contain the glass debris, right? And a proper dustpan and broom to cover it up. And or you could just do the better option and go make an awesome lantern that can't break if you drop it on the ground at the library ahead of time.
Good
but
advice.
Great ship, Peterborough, honestly. And it's good because we Zoe covered the regular the censorship Peterborough group, and I hit up the hipper, newer, younger, more agile, uncensored Peterborough Facebook group. But we were looking for stories from residents, and because there's always those few random people, and no offense to any of them, but they always seem like they have 80% of their marbles, maybe. And they will always, these are the people, right? And every single one of them will do this. Like you can, this is how you identify this type of person, because they will comment fondly about the hotel or whatever the hell it was that was where the bank is now, downtown, next to, the bank building's been there for a long time, and it was built to match the rest of the brick downtown. And it does. And it looks, if you didn't know that it wasn't built with all the rest of it, you wouldn't. It looks contemporary with the rest of the thing. So you truly have to be not even like I feel like I know like people who are our age who grew up here didn't see what happened before that bank building. You know what I mean? So like you could have grown up here and not known anything about that multi-deck wooden building with a big long porch, right? So those people that talk about that fondly, these are like ancient Peterboroughians, right? So we were hoping that, and they do, they often throw out like random snippets and vignettes of things. And so we were hoping, we actually thought, I think some people thought we were being cynical and looking for negativity. I thought we would hear like some real, not even, I was going to say Hallmark, but like Hallmark is almost too modern at this point. Like I'm like Currier and Ives type stories, like some real, like real white Christmas era type shit, it's what I expected, or if anybody chimed in, that's what we were looking for. Instead, I don't know, the Peterborough's Christmas past, unlike that of Scrooge, is not very happy. It seems like, if we know the Christmas story, the very, very nice flashbacks in presented by the ghost of Christmas past to Ebenezer Scrooge. Peterborough apparently seems to be moving in the right direction as far as the ghost of Christmas might be concerned, because back in the day, things would just be burnt down and destroyed. Apparently, in the regular Peterborough group, we did manage to capture one of those people who definitely remembers what was there before the bank. But all she wanted to share was about how the old school burnt down in like 1970.
1970, yeah.
Yeah. And
like how the firefighters like couldn't be home for Christmas and stuff because
and it burned. It sounded like it burned for like a day. Like this fire, like townsfolk were gathering to watch it, and they could see it from like different, like many streets away, and like. Yeah, like the firefighter, it wasn't even just that he couldn't be home for Christmas. Like he like went home and like ate and
like
got
watched his
changed
kid open presents and then
and
left.
like got called back because this was going on for that long, you know?
Yeah.
And apparently, and I haven't had time to like look into this, but there was an event that we actually talk about also on this podcast quite a bit that came out of the fire, apparently, which was that they said that that's what led to the creation of Conval.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The school district was formed in light of the destruction of this original school, I guess. So Conval, so like, it's like, no wonder Conval is such a pain in the ass and such a clusterfuck, because it was like born out of this evil Christmas fire, you know? Like,
right. It's got like, Conval needs an exorcism or something.
Yeah. Like that's like a bad, like, what were they thinking? Like, you know, we always like to think of like the past. I mean, I guess we also don't think of the quaint past as being 1970 either. So like, what am I really saying? You know, I was like, where was the folk wisdom? You know, like this was the distant past, you know, but like, no, I mean, it was 1970. Like we shouldn't really expect that necessarily. But really, if you think about it, why would you, if you're going to found a new school district after the legendary evil Christmas Day fire, like you have to like take steps to like mitigate, you know what I mean? Like you have to like intentionally compensate for that in some way. And I don't think they did that.
It explains a lot.
It does explain a lot. And then in the other group, it was only, so the part of the impetus for this was because, on a story about something else, or maybe it was even a comment on one of our podcasts, I don't know, but, Blair Weiss, the founder of this group and current member of the planning board, commented about how the previous Christmas tree, before the one that we now know as the town's Christmas tree, was cut down unceremoniously by a drunken man, a Gen Xer of some kind. But this was like, it sounded like this was like 10 or 15 years ago. And he's gone now. He might be dead. He came to a bad end. It's a very sad story. We only have half the story, but he was drunk and he cut down the tree. And my comment was that, and I'm not going to ask, I know you haven't seen this movie, but that it sounds reminiscent of like Peterborough's Christmas version of the opening scene of Cool Hand Luke. I won't spoil anything by telling you this, because like I said, it's the opening scene, and maybe many of our viewers haven't seen it either, but it's Paul Newman, Luke, is wasted in some city somewhere, and he's got like a big, you know, some kind of like lug wrench tool, and he's just going up to parking meters with his giant tool, and he's just taking the tops off of them. And like, he's not trying to like take the money out of them or anything. He's got his tool and he's just uncapping them and knocking them on the ground, and he's wasted. And, you know, like the cops show up and he just kind of like laughs at them, you know, and, later on when he's in jail, someone finally out, like, cause someone finds out that that's what he's in for, or something, like cutting heads off. Maybe he tells them, I don't remember, that he was cutting the heads off parking meters. And somebody's like, well, why? What were you doing that for? Like, what did you think that was going to get you? And he's just like, I was just settling an old score.
Huh.
And that's the only explanation we ever get about why he was doing that. But that's what this story sounds like to me, because there was another contemporary of Blair's who chimed in to say that they remembered that story and they knew the guy and all that stuff. And neither of them explained nor gave any indication that they knew, that they were in possession of this knowledge of why this man did this. But obviously, like, this is an act like Luke in the movie, where you're not just drunk carrying your axe down Grove Street. You know what I mean? Like, he got drunk, went and got the axe or the chainsaw, or whatever it was. They made it sound like it was an axe. I think they used the verb chopped. You know, so this dude like got drunk, like got mad at the town maybe, or Christmas or something, and like chopped the tree down. And I believe he got the tree down before there was any intervention.
Yeah.
What came out though in the comments on this one was that was not even the first Peterborough tree to be unceremoniously cut down. The last time was in 1985, apparently, when 4 people, 3 Peterborough residents and 1 out-of-towner, that's as much information as I have, collaborated together to cut down a tree. And that tree was apparently much bigger than the one that we have now, because it sounds like it was in relatively the same place, but it was big enough that when it fell all the way across Grove Street and into the Italian Park across the way, which our current tree absolutely could not do. It would not even make it to the end of the sidewalk, the near sidewalk, like our side of the street sidewalk.
You're right.
You know? So it must have been a much taller pine tree back in the day. And that was cut down by some people. It almost sounds like something the youth of Rindge would do. Which, by the way, just as an update to that story, they have been slowly arresting people in that.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're doing it like the January 6th rioters, where they're just like slowly and systematically like finding them one at a time and being like, yeah, we got you. I might be overstating the case a little bit, but like they have been getting them like one at a time. And there's at least 2 or 3 who have been arrested and charged now.
There are still toilet paper remnants in the trees at the Rindge Common, like
it's
remnants
funny.
of that battle.
You know? Yeah, it's still up there. They at least one of them, I think I saw it was a Jaffrey resident, but they are not, I was correct. They are not Franklin Pierce College kids. They are definitely local kids, and they were younger. I want to say they were 20s.
That was your initial guess, I think.
Yeah, I think I could be an FBI profiler. Yeah, it's based on the crime. He has a goatee and drives a truck. Yeah. So update there. Little bit of a news story.
Well, I hope that the current Peterborough Christmas tree, I hope that they like did something when they planted it that, will break that curse.
Well, sorry, I didn't close that circle. That's kind of where I was going with it, was that like we actually, we do seem to be moving in potentially a positive direction. I don't get a lot of impressions that like Peterborough was that much better in the past. And it seems like it might have been worse, and people might have somehow been angrier, and which is funny to think about, but granted, we only got a couple of stories, but it is sort of telling that when like you ask for holiday related stories and the only things that people share are like a fire and a couple of Christmas trees that were like maliciously and lawlessly taken down. And then of course you got one just bright shining Christmas spirit who was like, there was the time the town condemned a village of 26 people and threw them out on the street a week and a half before Christmas. That was actually the nightmare before Christmas, which, thanks, not what I was asking for at all. Interesting characterization, too, that the town condemned the village, making it seem like the town was just going after these people, also hatefully, isn't what happened. But yes, I mean, I suppose that is a Peterborough Christmas story, and it is contemporary, and it isn't happy, so like maybe we're not totally out of the woods yet, but I don't think that was anybody's fault other than the landowner. So it definitely absolutely was somebody's fault. One guy, not the town though, it wasn't the town that did that, I don't think. And it wasn't the destruction of a town symbol, like a school or a tree.
Right.
So I don't know if it carries the same omen weight as those things do.
We'll have to wait and see on that one, maybe.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking that we are potentially moving in the right direction, I guess. So that's a great kind of holiday message that I would like to convey to the town is like, well done. Merry Christmas. You're doing good. You deserve a pat on the back. I don't give you guys a lot of pats on the back. A lot of the time you don't deserve it. But right now, in the spirit of the holidays, goodwill towards men is what I have towards you all. And I think that, I can acknowledge this, looking on the bright side kind of aspect of things, and that in some aspects, whatever might be wrong and however tense we might be, and however once in a while it feels like the first season of The Leftovers and that people could just lose their shit at any moment. We might actually still be, in the broad scheme of things, going in the right direction, making improvements, making progress. And with that spirit, we should approach the new year.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. So I think that is probably the most positive note that I could possibly ever end an episode. Right? We don't have anything to add to this?
I feel that sounded like such a perfect ending that I mentally just like closed it out.
Yeah, totally. We'll get one more episode out before Christmas, and we hope to. I haven't actually asked these people yet, so I'm not going to name names in case it's not possible. But we do hope to have one or two special guests come on to join us for our final. It's gonna be another Christmas episode, of course, because you can't overdo it in the month of December as far as these things go. So we'll do another episode without drama, without angst, without accusing the newspaper of malpractice. We will, it'll be another delightful romp. So I hope that you all are enjoying your holiday season. We do all deserve it this year, every year really, but it's been a tough one. The last few have been a tough one. Celebrate, enjoy it, soak it up, take in some magic of the lights and the music and the people around you. And, hopefully you're surrounded by love. And, if not, try to make a plan where you can position yourself in the future to be surrounded by that love, because you deserve it. And that's what we all should be aiming for. And we all will be less tense if we do that. So, don't forget about our sound lord. He's a great fellow. We've got a new merchandise link in the notes this week. They did go over to Zazzle, I think maybe, I don't know. They moved over to a different venue, but they've got some great Down by 10 merchandise. But Chad Patterson is our sound lord. He is a sound lord writ large, in fact, with studio117.net. He can take care of any, audio consultation, setup, production, mixing, custom editing that you might want to do. Any of that, Chad is available for. Reach out to him there, studio117.net, and go see his band. They're playing all over the place. They'll be back in Milford sometime in the next couple of months, I believe. We'll be promoting that. But Down by 10 has just in 1 year become New England's premier dad rock cover band. And they have gigs all over the place in Massachusetts, New Hampshire. I don't know, before long, if they haven't already, they'll be in Maine. They'll be Connecticut will suck them in. They're going to keep going in this wider circle. And if you want them at your private event, because what would make your private event stand out more than being able to tell your potential guests or your captive employees, whatever the case may be, that they get to listen to New England's premier dad rock, playing covers from the 1960s to the aughts. Book them today. Book them in advance. Get them together. Contact info is in the show notes. Thank you so much, Chad. Thank you. I wish you the merriest Christmas as well, because you deserve it and you're a great fellow. Buy our merch as well, which is in the show notes. There's really not as many people as I thought looking for these great inside jokes, and you will miss out. They're only available for a limited time, and there's nobody else producing Fight Club Santa t-shirts and notebooks and hats. There's nobody else committing libel about the theft of $2.3 million on a t-shirt. No one else will do that. There's not even in this town actually an organized campaign to build a dog park, but we've got t-shirts supporting such a campaign. We don't even like dogs, but we've got the shirts. So check that out. The link will be in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, though. I think that we have hopefully put you in a jolly good mood, and that you're feeling positive about the future, because, despite all my rants and all my, grievances and everything, I really do feel very positive about the future. I think there's some really good things in store, and I like to think that we're going to share them together. So do the best you can. Take that good advice until we see you again. We'll see you one more time before Christmas. We love you. And, light the menorah, like the trees, sing some songs. Let's make the most of this time. Go see Christmas Carol. Lots of good advice for you. All right. The Space Lounge is here for your edification. All right. We will see you next time. Thank you again. Good night.